I must say, when I write, I don't think in those terms particularly. I've got other concerns, probably more close concerns than such general concepts as aesthetic excellence. And so in my mind, when I'm thinking about it, I kind of flip it on its head, and I thought, well, what would anesthetic excellence mean? And that'd be like, I'm going in for an operation, and I want the anaesthetic to work really, really well, so I feel nothing. And so aesthetic excellence would be the reverse of that, where I'd have total feeling for the characters and for the problem, the situation they're in. I'm at one with them. I'm rooting for them in some way. That's in terms of the people, the characters. Then, for me, generally, I think art, and I hate these generalizations, I just write, but when you reflect on it, art tends to, or at least narrative, tends to impose pattern. And some of the aesthetics are about that sense of harmony that comes from the imposition by the author of a pattern on the chaos. Plausibility. I think, and I guess it's just speculation for me, but readers will forgive a lot because that suspension of disbelief. They know it's a story. They know that it's not true, and if you can get the characters such that they in some way shine, they run in such a way that people feel, the readers feel, I get this person. I'm not that person necessarily, but I get this person. I can feel what they feel, and I know why they're feeling that way. Even if those feelings are very extreme or based on unusual circumstances, that sympathy or empathy, whichever way it is, that the reader gets, I think that's the bedrock of the plausibility. And so a lot of the arguments around early science fiction were that while the worlds created were magnificent, the characters were flat, the characters were so stereotypical or shallow that most people just didn't want to read it. And that's, that affected not necessarily the plausibility of the world created, but the idea that human beings would be walking among or within that world. So there was a tension, and there is a tension between those two things, maybe, between the world building and people building. It's that calibration. Of course, the best will build both really, really well. I'm not sure that when I wrote that novel, Black Star Rising, that I was thinking at all about plausibility. I can give you a backstory on it, which is bizarre, interesting, that I wrote the two before Black Star Rising, Lick Shot and Professor X. I wrote them set in the now, I think set in the contemporary time, which was, let's not ask when it was, but it's a couple of decades ago. And I sent them off to the publisher, and they said, yeah, we'll publish them, but, to use your language, they're not plausible. This wouldn't happen now. Mainly, it's because I'd created this high-ranking black cop. There wouldn't be one. They said, it's impossible. The readers will just throw it away and say, no, fantasy. So what we'll have to do is set it in the future. And that's how I came to write the first two, set in the future, because the idea that there'd be a high-ranking black cop in the UK at that time was not believable, they said. So after I'd done those first two, I thought, well, if we're going to set something in the future, let's set it properly in the future. And that's how I came to write Black Star Rising. That was 1,000 years from now. But my concern really there was, well, first of all, in terms of audience and the plausibility for which audience, that I wasn't really writing for any readership other than the UK black readership, maybe the American black readership. That was what I was focused on. I wasn't really considering anyone else. And within that, I knew that science fiction had very few black people existing within it, certainly UK science fiction. And so there was this thought, we've been written out of the future, we've disappeared, So the act of writing Black Star Rising was to establish a couple of things. One, we will be in the future, and that was the first thing. Two, that counter to the stereotypes that sometimes prevalent, we can be rocket scientists as well as rock scientists, could be geologists, and linguists, all the other types of expertise, scientific expertise perhaps, but maybe not also from the humanities. There is no bar on what we can achieve in terms of thinking. That back then may have been somewhat controversial, or at least contrary to the stereotype. And then the third thing was that it's about who are we? Are we always going to be defined by white supremacy, as this phrase is? And what I was trying to do was say, well, okay, if we bring all these black people together in one place, then we can demonstrate or show characters who live much more full lives that of greater individuation, of greater specificness, of that can emerge more fully human than when they're being flattened by the pressures of a racialized society. So that was a third project or aim within the novel. And so, in terms of plausibility, the idea is, okay, here's the novel to the readers, can you see this? Can you share this future? Can you dream it? I like the idea of anticipation having kind of a positive and a negative, and you've got the anticipation positively. I think I always think about it in terms of when we're very young, 4, 5, 6, 3, and our birthday's coming up, and there's no more intense positive anticipation than, it's my birthday coming up, what am I going to get? And there's a kind of negative anticipation, which is the foreboding, the dread, which is kind of gothic or horror. Certainly with the thrillers, if you like, the crime fiction or crime thrillers that I've written, it struck me that thrillers are quite naive in some respects, because you've got this idea that there's a better world that can be achieved than the world that is the present of the story. And generally all the bustle and hustle of the drama, the plot, the action of thrillers is trying to get to that better world. Something's happened, something's going to go wrong, unless. But it's predicated on the idea that, the world can be much better. The individual is able to achieve change, is able to affect the course of events, and in that way, the individual is empowered, and the main character is kind of a bit of a hero to be able to change that world. That's how thrillers, I think, work. And then the reader, spinning the cameras around, the reader is in the shoes, riding on with the main character as he goes about trying to transform that world, and by riding with them, they have this sense that maybe I too can change the world in some way. It's a good question, and I don't think I have a standard formula. For myself, I've been more and more interested in the idea that the novel is the examination of consciousness of of what it's like for us as humans, what we carry in our minds, what we're thinking at any one time, what we're feeling at any one time. And in that sense, at any one moment, I sometimes feel we're here now. I'm doing this interview right now. I'm also remembering the chicken I ate 2 hours ago, and from that, you know, my mind's often operating. Maybe all our minds are operating in many places along that timeline at once, and the exploration of that is something that is intriguing and healthy. It's maybe important. It's something that writers can do with that examination of consciousness, of what's going through our minds. So, in terms of that, the question becomes, to some extent, to what extent are we living in the future? To what extent are we living in the past? And how much of the now are we carrying? One of the things that I've been meditating around, I've been looking at that equation, at those simultaneous existences we have, both in the past, future, present, and from that you start to theorize about the nature of time. So that big idea of time is actually bound up and wrapped up in the ontology, the nature of being, and you know, the existential questions about why we are here, if there is any meaning to life. And so at the moment, you know, what I've been working on or writing about is artificial intelligence and how that that leap to sentience occurs. So then you think, okay, well, what is it about human beings that will keep the AI autonomous beings at bay? Well, we've got a handle on time that's better than theirs at the moment. You know, we can sift around through it, and we have that ability to speculate on the future, and we can come at things in vastly different ways. I guess maybe one thing that writing can do, if it does it, if it's so minded, is it can destabilize our understanding of ourselves and our understanding of the world of now. A lot of the dialogue or the work that is done by writers is reconstructions of the past, demolitions of the past, you know, in order that the present is understood in a different way, and so that we may envisage a future that is different from the one that seems to be coming upon us, you know, with some degree of inevitability. So writers tend to bring to the party voices that may not have been thought about, and connections that may not be being made by planners or those who speculate more technically about the future, and for that reason we are very good stress testers of visions. We bring a different way of thinking about the future, and a more human-centered thinking about the future to the table, to discussions or speculations on the future. And we're so, as a body of people, we're such misfits that between us we should catch a lot of things that others might miss.